Start my OBS. Should be good to go. Just let me know when you're ready.
All right.
Oh wow. Okay, so easily looking at the damage, this Teemo did a ton of damage. That's crazy. Teemo normally does a ton of damage. It's just
Yeah.
excuse me. It's just a big shocker. Did you mean to take Aerie this game? I feel like this was an accident because you played Senator last game.
Yeah.
This definitely hurt. I feel like the only things that are really viable on Blitz are Guardian and Aftershock.
Yeah, I usually run Aftershock. I don't know why it didn't change, actually, but...
Yeah, it seems like since the rune change, I've actually not had issues of runes not changing in time. So usually it's not an issue, but yeah, I can definitely see how this might have hurt your ability to win this lane, especially versus a Leona who probably had Aftershock. Looking at your build, there's nothing that really sticks out. It's going to be hard to actually talk about some of this game because this misruning choice is actually huge. Like, there's some runes that, you know, you could get away with it, but this is big, right?
Yeah.
This is really big. Something I usually like to look at before we start the game is where does your counterpart start to run away with the game from you? So I look at the gold and the XP over time of you and your counterpart. So what I see when I look at this, the gold acquired, it looks like there's a definite breakaway somewhere in like the 14-minute mark when laning phase ends, where Leona probably just starts winning more and more team fights and you're not getting the hooks you need. I'm guessing that's what happens. If you look at the XP mark, you actually stay even in XP with her. Even you're ahead until further into the game at 20 minutes. So I'm going to be interested to see where she's getting this gold and where you're getting your XP. Just because these tend to tell a good story of like what actually goes on in the game. In terms of the 80 carry, that's actually kind of even. Where else does this game get skewed? Arthas gets ahead after 20 minutes or late game. Looks like they all just get a little bit ahead. Okay, nothing too crazy here.
Yeah, just wait.
All right.
There's a very questionable Baron call that at least that's the tone.
It's worth looking at the runes here though. This is basically the stuff that you should be running, you know, in general. If you push this little square mark here, like I'm on op.gg, if you push the square here, you actually start to see more rune pages. Because the only two that it shows you tend to be the two most popular, but that doesn't always tell the whole story, right? You have a pick rate of 20% of people who use Guardian on Blitzcrank, and they still have above a 50% win rate. These stats are relevant, which is why you should look in and get the little extra check mark. Specifically, I see that everybody runs conditioning. I don't really agree with that, personally. I know why you would take it, but you also buy things like Locket and stuff on Blitzcrank, right? It's like extra resistances after 10 minutes aren't necessarily something that help you a whole lot. I think you would rather much have like Second Wind or Iron Skin in early laning phase. That way you can actually win early all-ins. That's just my opinion. I also think that also applies to not taking Overgrowth on a support, which does not make sense. I think you should take probably Unflinching or Revitalize instead, just because it actually helps you in lane. In early laning phase and bot lane, there tends to be a lot of fights where both of your summoners are on cooldown, right? Like bot lane is spicy early, and both of you guys have used all your summoners before 4 minutes. When stuff like that happens, if you take the Unflinching rune, you're going to have 20% tenacity and slow resistance even when those are on cooldown, and you're going to have more like in the fight when you use them. I think don't take Overgrowth and don't take Overgrowth or conditioning on support. I think having more laning presence with either Second Wind and Iron Skin and Unflinching is going to enable you to muscle through some more plays that you wouldn't be able to do without that. Because bot lane, you're the weakest person going on, right? Because you have to share XP. You ramp up slower, so like these scaling runes make less sense when you ramp up slower and have less gold to yourself. You need the stuff that makes you as strong as possible early. That way you can win your lane early and then go do other stuff. As for the secondary tree on Blitzcrank, this makes no sense to me. I would never...
like mine is I'm running sorcery with mana flow and transcendence.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm
I would not run this in a million years. That makes no sense. Blitzcrank is slow without his W. That's part of the reason why he's balanced. Like, he used to be way quicker until they realized that's not fair. So I think Celerity is kind of core on him. I would not run Transcendence. The Transcendence goes back to running Conditioning and Overgrowth, which I don't think makes sense. Transcendence doesn't kick in until you're level 10, right? There's going to be plenty of times as a support where you need to do a lot of things before you're even close to hitting level 10. So you're taking a rune that basically is giving you nothing. There's going to be games where you have a rough early game and you practically never even hit level 10, or by the time you do, the game's over. So taking Transcendence does nothing for you. I definitely think you should take Celerity because you are a pick-based support. More movement speed is just better and better because it's going to enable you to find more hooks and stick to your targets. Mana Flow Band, I think that's obvious on Blitzcrank. Yeah. If you don't take that, you better be a god, you know. You miss one hook without Mana Flow Band and you're kind of done for. Two, you really are done for. So now that we looked at all that, we're going to pull this up and get right into it. Where are you? There you are. Okay. So the area definitely hurts. We're going to try to pretend in laning phase that you have Aftershock, just for the context of like a real game. So, but what I notice here going forward is that this Leona actually does not have Aftershock, does she?
No.
So you still win in fights, funny enough. The other thing that's worth pointing out, though, I think as long as you are playing in lower elos until you get better, or you're possibly duo with somebody that you think deserves the exhaust, I think you need to start taking Ignite. Because as a tank support, you build stuff like Locket. You know, you build stuff like Knight's Vow and Redemption. I think when you're building all of these defensive things, taking exhaust is really overkill. I feel like there's probably plenty of situations where you've like dumped all your defensive stuff and exhausted a guy, and it's like, you know, I probably didn't need my exhaust there. You know, I was probably okay. So
I was actually duoed with a Mumu, and it's not gonna happen anymore. No, like he went maximum tilt towards, like you'll see the Baron throw, and then you'll see him fully tilt and just start making just awful calls.
Just goes off the deep end.
Yeah, and like I've duoed with him quite a bit. We're friends and all, but I think I'm just gonna be like, nah.
Well, not today.
He goes on just maximum tilt. It's bad.
Yeah, it's not really fun to deal with that either.
Yeah, he's screaming in my ear. Plus, I do think that duoing with him and talking in Discord keeps me from like making more calls in the game for my team, because I feel like I'm just saying it to him, but I'm not telling the rest of my team. Yeah. So that's also a problem.
True. Because he's only the jungler, right? He's not the rest of your team.
Yeah.
About taking exhaust though. I think when you're tank support and you tend to buy defensive items anyway, Locket, etc., I think you need to be taking Ignite.
Okay.
So that you can play more aggressive in lane. I think there's going to be times where, you know, you yank a guy and you just ignite him, boom, he's going to flash and heal away instantly. You know, something silly. Yeah. That's way more value than having exhaust, right? Yeah. If you can kill someone over and over again, or kill them more quickly and keep them weaker, you're not even going to have to exhaust them as the game goes on, because they're going to be beaten down because you won lane. I think Ignite is, in general, going to put more power in your hands to have a more successful early game, along with taking more aggressive early runes. Not Overgrowth, not Conditioning, not Transcendence, more like Celerity, Iron Skin, and Unflinching. That way you can muscle out fights.
Yeah.
The fact that this Leona does not have Aftershock is a big stroke of luck for you, for sure.
Yeah, look at the timing here. I watched this earlier, and we didn't even realize Hecarim was there until, like, after I land this pull on Vayne.
That's kind of hilarious, though.
Yeah. He just runs off. Like, I don't think we ever even got vision until he was leaving.
Okay, so this actually is a perfect example. I think if you have Ignite here, this Amumu doesn't flash for this Aftershock kill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ignited her, her heal gets cut by 45. So she has 55 health here, but it would be even less because your Ignite was already burning her. So she'd be more at like 30, and yeah, I think something else hit her there.
I feel like he probably still would have flashed though, because I know him.
Yeah. I want that first blood.
Yeah, my team wants to stay there, and I tell them, nah, probably not a good idea.
Yeah. We already got what we came for.
Yeah, I figured Karthus might come down there too, and I just didn't want to deal with all that.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think you should start taking Ignite, though. Especially when you play
Yeah.
these aggressive supports, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
you're not Tarek, you're not Alistar, who is more of like a defensive tank support. You're trying to, like, you're trying to fist this Vayne up the ass.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I missed an early hook and like kind of get dumped on, but
What you definitely are considering when you get to this lane right here, don't think they see you. No. Is that Vayne already has no flash and no heal, right?
yeah,
That's obvious. I think what you do here, instead of tunnel visioning on Vayne, just because she has no flash and no heal, you take the fact that she has no flash and no heal and already has to play super safe, and then you start beating up on Leona. Like, you just pull her immediately and let Kai'Sa land 2 auto attacks. Like, you just start the lane off on the right foot, you know? So we're gonna see what happens here, though. You know you're gonna get hit level 2 first, so you kind of just chill out.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's the.
Who are your most comfortable supports that you play?
Sona and Thresh, really.
Sona and Thresh, okay. I saw your Sona win rate does not look good. Sona's a good champion, but what I feel like is probably happening is that you're just playing a squishy champion, and squishy champions tend to die if you make one mistake.
Yeah.
Let me see this one more time. Okay. That was kind of a good idea. I like what you were thinking there. Like, she's gonna relic it, and then you're just gonna pull her.
Yeah.
Overall, I don't think that's a bad idea. It's just, you miss. I can only see it one more time, though. Okay. If you do want to go for this, I think the problem here is that there's actually minions between them, right? If you know you want to make this play, you need to separate from your minions and get a slightly better angle on her. So instead of standing straight down the middle of the lane, which is the path that the minions are going to take, you need to get more in the habit on Blitz of standing off to the side. Because when you stand really close like this, you'd have to hit hooks with, very narrow margins.
All right.
If you stand off to the side, you're going to find that you have way more angles. You can shoot between minions. You can just walk up and down rather than left and right. And you just get a lot more options. When you stand this close to the minions, you're kind of setting yourself up for, to grab a minion, essentially.
Yeah.
When you shoot angles from the side, the minions, instead of taking up like your 80% of your angle, they take up like 20% of the angle or something, right? I would definitely say that Blitz is 100% a champion that can hard carry. And I mean hard carry, but he's very punishing. Because you walk up and miss your hook, in those few seconds, you go from, full health to basically nothing. And once you're too low, it even becomes dangerous for you to do your job of pulling people, right?
Yeah.
So when you step in for a really aggressive plays like this on someone who can be heavily punished for it, or it's either like hit or miss, you hit the hook or you don't, these aren't plays that you can really pull off and expect to get away with, especially as you get higher up on the ladder. The reason why I really don't like this hook, though, is that you're trying too hard to make something happen when being more patient is going to be the better play. So out of pure antsiness and wanting to be aggressive, you end up just shooting yourself in the foot. So instead of going for that hook that's not even that good, right? Because if you pull her, you're still standing in all the minions. You might punch her in the face, but you went for the Leona. So Vayne's still going to free auto you. And
no, I actually went for Vayne. Like, what you'll see is, she'll start walking, and then she'll stop right as I go to hook. So I was actually going to pull Vayne here. You see, she starts cutting in right there.
But you see how she's using the minion as cover? Look at the way she's pathed. She knows that you have to throw that hook. And she's already using the minions as cover. She's preemptively waiting for this next wave to come in so that she can hide behind the minion.
Yeah. So
she knows that you want this hook, but she knows that as long as she hides behind the minion, you can't get it. And you try too hard to do it anyway. And I think that's the problem here. You know that you can kind of do this because you're level 2 and she's level 1, but you still end up getting punished really hard. mainly because you decide to walk back in and trade CC with her. Now, the reason why this whole thing is really bad, and I repeated it like 5 times to watch it exactly and see why this setup went wrong, is because you did not fully disengage from the minions before going back in. And when you punch her and she stuns you, the moment you land this punch, all these minions turn on you.
Yeah.
Vayne has already been hitting you, and now Leona's hitting you. So you're getting attacked by 3 different things. And just because you're level 2, it doesn't really matter here, because you missed one of your abilities, right? The whole reason why getting level 2 over them is good is because you have access to 2 abilities and they still have 1. But you went in aggressive, missed 1, and now you're overstaying and kind of fighting a 1v3 in a case, kind of, because you're fighting the minions, Leona, and this Vayne. So it's kind of like 3 strikes, you're out on a trade in that form. You know, you miss, you posture up aggressively, and then you return fire, but you decide to return fire and it gets you focused even worse. When you miss a hook like that, you have to just immediately leave. You have to disengage the minions and make sure they're not still hitting you. And in general, why I say patience, you have the advantage here 100%. You guys got to lane before them and they missed XP. You could, instead of going for this level 2 all in, instead be more patient and wait for the level 3 all in, right? Because you're also going to get level 3 before they do. When you go for these very forceful, aggressive things, you're taking much more of a risk than is worth it, right? Because even if you do land this hook, right, it's still not that great. Kai'Sa might land some auto attacks, but really she's just going to back up and you're still going to get beat up by all the minions. Ideally, you're trying to stay really far away, and with the pool, the goal is not to just land the pool and land the pool. You're trying to displace the person you're pulling as far as possible, right?
Yeah.
If you stand melee range and pull him, that basically does nothing, obviously. If you're max distance, you're pulling him from his area of safety into an area that he really can't be without dying. That's the difference between the pool here. So when you want to land this pool, rather than thinking, I want to land this pool, it's, I need to be over here. That way, if I land a pool, he's in a bad place. Because this necessarily isn't even a bad place for him, right?
Yeah.
From the get-go, you're kind of in the wrong mindset of being over-aggressive here, just because you're level 2. But you're drinking your potions and you sustain back up. It's not the end of the world. It's just really important to go into why stuff like that is not good going forward.
Oh yeah, I understand.
But here, this is where you're getting close to level 3 again, right? So this would be your next power spike. This is the next time you look for a hook. In general, you don't want to stand behind minions of your own on Blitzcrank because this automatically makes Vayne safer, right? If you're deciding to put minions between yourself and them, then you're not even scary anymore. This is when you need to just either be sitting in this bush or walking more up on this side. Now, this side can be a little scary to hover on because, like, what if we get ganked? But, you know, you have a ward there, right? So you're kind of okay. It is fair to say, though, this is Hecarim. Hecarim's fast. He doesn't have his Predator yet, though, so, like, you can afford to be a little more aggressive here with your positioning. But back to this ward. This is a really bad ward, actually, and I'm glad I noticed it. This is an incredibly lazy spot to put a ward. If you're going to put the ward in this river bush, you need to go ahead and put it all the way up so that you have more advanced warning and you can see them coming that, you know, whole second sooner. Sometimes seeing them that whole half second to a second sooner makes all the difference in whether or not you live or die. So rather than just dropping this here because it's convenient, you need to put it way further up.
Okay.
Going forward. The fact that you're sitting on her, your Kai'Sa is actually not bad. I said that, you know, it's bad that you're hanging back too far, but if this Leona were to go in, you know, you can punch her, and then you could walk back further, and then pull her, right? Yeah. So this is defensive positioning on your part. You're not necessarily, you're not necessarily trying to pull the Vayne and the Leona here because you realize that you can just defensively posture, and it's safer, and you're kind of baiting her to make a mistake. But mainly here you're trying to hit your level 3, which is why I say you should be postured more aggressively. They have the bigger wave, so you can't really go in here, but you can land the hook on Leona. Yeah. I think this is another example of if you had tougher runes or ignite or aftershock, etc., this becomes a kill, right? But
I think she does kill her, but then overstays like really badly.
But if you had just something else here, I think you could see like how this goes better. Just because sometimes all you have to do is land it. Yeah. But that's good, because going forward, you know that you can, it's not your mechanics that are the severe issue. Sometimes something as bad as runes can fuck you up.
Yeah.
But what's bad here is that you guys went from an almost kill to both dying. And realizing when you have to retreat and say enough is enough on the play is really important. So you land the hook, you take the damage, you're being tanky, and you retreat. Wow, that's a bad flash.
Yeah, and I try to flash and save her, but then she stays again and gets autoed.
You see how many minions are here?
Yeah.
This is why you lose this fight. I think this Vayne is definitely the better AD carry here. This Vayne knows how to use her minions better. Because once you see how many minions here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minions, and 4 of them are ranged. This is a lot of damage that they're putting out. This is why Vayne wins. Look at that. She's straight up just dying to minions. It wasn't Vayne that did all this damage. It's the minions killing you guys.
Yeah.
When you see that someone has like more than a 3 minion advantage, especially early game, I would greatly reconsider fighting it. You finish your Targons, normal stuff. This is still doable, because your Kai'Sa still has damage, and you guys have a good combo. Like, in terms of what Kai'Sa does, she's actually really good with Blitzcrank, right? Because you have immobilizing effects in your kit, and her passive gets stacked by the immobilizing effects. So, if you were to take, Ignite, or maybe she ran Press the Attack instead of Fleet Footwork, like, that's huge kill threat, right? Now, I still think Fleet Footwork is going to be core on a lot of people, especially people who are auto-filled AD carry, because it's just safer, right? They did nerf the healing on it, but the way it scales and it provides utility to someone who isn't going to get healing from you, right? Because you're not a healer. Leona's not a healer. This is kind of why they take it.
Yeah.
But if you are feeling ballsy and you feel like you can win a lane as long as your AD carry muscles up with you because you see a weak lane or something, this is when you take your strong rune page, you take Ignite, and then you encourage your AD carry to go press the attack. Because if you land Aftershock, if you land Ignite, and they land press the attack, it almost doesn't matter who they are, right? That guy's probably going to die. So even before you get into games, I think you can complement someone into playing with your aggressive style just with small suggestions, like something like that. And they're like, oh, but then I won't have healing. It's like, oh, well, after we win lane, go buy a Vamp Scepter. There's your healing, dude.
Yeah.
I'm going to go roam. You're going to sit bot with your 1,000 gold lead, and I'm going to go win the rest of the map. I think if you can get your AD carry to play with you ahead of time, like that, like, if you just take press the attack and I take Ignite, we just kill him, right? Get him to ride that train with you, and then you win lane, and then you go roam. Because Blitzcrank really... He would rather just get this Vayne to be 0-3 and then start going elsewhere, right? You don't want to just sit in lane all game. That's not really what you do on this champion. When you pick Blitz, you're trying to win lane, grab the Vayne, and then start grabbing Karthus and Tryndamere, ideally. But back to lane. Here comes the Mumo. Disengaged. At this point, this is where you need to like get in tune with how the other AD carry moves. If you can get in tune with them, like sometimes you're gonna like, I can't miss or something. But with this Vayne, I think this Vayne has already showed she's kind of savvy about some of your hooks, and you're trying to throw hooks that she basically like, unless she ran right at you, right? This thing's not gonna land. Now it was within range, but only if she sat still. In general, this hook attempt is not bad. Because, you miss 100% of the hooks you don't throw. You need to go for some, obviously. But when this wave is pushing in right here, unless this Vayne just stands here, you know, her natural reaction already, because of the minions, is to retreat. You don't want to throw it when her already natural plan is to retreat, because you're just giving her double the reason to not fight you with this wave pushing. You want to try to throw this hook before this wave starts to crash, when she's more predictable moving in for these minions. Like right here, this is where you have a huge minion lead, right?
Yeah.
This is where you guys fought earlier and made the mistake, because they had a lead like this. This item difference is not so huge that you guys cannot ever fight. This is where, though, I have to go back into the context of this being a bad game in terms of runes and setup. Because as of this moment, none of you have your summoners, and you guys are now down an item, and Vayne is up a level. So, in kind of a frank terms and layman's terms, there's actually no fight here at all, right? You guys have kind of already are in farm mode. But for future reference, this is the kind of opportunities where you're looking for hooks on Blitzcrank. Not before this is start to crash and she's like forced to retreat, but when you have a wave that's big enough to support your aggression, right? You know that if I land this pull, these 6 minions have my back. And then that makes that fight a lot harder for them to win.
Okay.
So instead of being far back here, when you see that you have this many minions, you would kind of want to be standing in about this screen space. That way, if you land a pull within this screen space, these minions are going to be close enough to help you out. So you're just a little too far back when you have this kind of minion lead right now. Because you continue to hold back, right? You're just being a little too timid here. And then you end up going for the hook, but you kind of already missed your opportunity. The other reason why I like separating from your carry is because you can do stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
If you stand on top of your carry, Leona like has the chance to CC you both or something. Yeah. Because if you were in this bush with her, one of you gets stunned against the wall by Vayne, etc. But when you separate from your carry, you could feel for him in really fun ways. So your mindfulness to feel for her definitely saves her life. Without that Q, she's dead. That's a Vayne flash.
Yeah.
Okay, we gotta watch this again. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I get it.
I'm sitting here talking about how good this Vayne is at dodging your hooks, you know, and then okay, that was probably an accident the way she stood there. But regardless, you know, you see that flash and you're like, oh man, I'm in there, right? Yeah. Like, that needs to be your reaction here. So you immediately go for the hook, and this is where the minions come in, right?
Yeah.
Look at her health bar just melting from the minion damage. Like, it doesn't look like much. I guarantee you with that cannon shot that got in there, she took at least 100 damage from those minions. Even in that very short amount of time. She took at least 100. That was well played.
Yeah, I was pretty confused there also, but you know.
You were ready to react, which is the important thing. I've seen some other players who may have just ran right there and like, oh, haha, Kaisa's dead. Better just leave her.
That's basically what usually happens to me, but it's like my ADC will leave me. Like, I'll get a hook and like they'll almost be dead. My ADC will just flash away.
Okay, I think.
Like, why did you pull him in, you idiot?
Yeah, I think not buying boots here is a mistake. Oh, never mind. Never mind. Never mind.
Yeah. Fuck up with the. We don't like to talk about that. I have aftershock, remember?
And then they just pop up right at... That's hilarious. Okay. Back to Lade. Your build is fine. You're building your main HP items that you need for your, you know, to survive fights and be a good tank. Your next item from here, I would definitely say this is a, it's probably a Locket Redemption game. The reason why I would go for Locket Redemption ahead of Knight's Vow specifically is because they have a Karthus. And Locket and Redemption is going to be the perfect way to counter his ultimate and counter his AoE damage or counter the Leona, right? Because they have a very clear all-in team. Leona and Hecarim want to ult in, right? Like that is as engage gets. You know, they go in and they don't really get back out. So when you're against these really hard engage comps, one, exhaust is still good. I'm not going to sit here and tell you exhaust is shit and you should never take it because it's still decent. Yeah. But Locket and Redemption would be beautiful against this kind of very telegraphed all-in and from Karthus and Leona and Hecarim.
I'm cringing so hard because I didn't build Redemption and it would have saved her so many times.
Yeah, Redemption is in general is incredibly OP. I think you tend to not build it after your first tank item because your first tank item as a support gives you 350 HP, right? It only gives you HP. So you kind of need to multiply that HP with the Locket or like an Aegis first, and then you usually get the Redemption afterwards. There are some cases where Redemption you will just straight up want to rush it, especially because the support tank item was nerfed by 150 HP, right? I think you're going to find there's going to be games where you win lane early, you get Targons, you get another pick, and it's just like, wow, I'm going to get Mobies in Rome. And then you get Mobies, and instead of finishing that Celestial Eye item, instead of like dropping the extra 1.3k, you put that 1.3k towards your Redemption. Because you just become like an all-inning map presence machine at that point, right? Like you don't necessarily need all that tank power because you have all this roam potential and map presence. You're not trying to get into knockdown, drag-out brawls where you need to fight your way out. You're just going pick city and constantly making everybody scared that you could pop out of the bush and hook them. Redemption ups your map presence, and it is also a damage item that is also a tanky and utility item. So in that sense, it is way more versatile as a purchase than finishing your support tank item first. Especially because it was nerfed by 150 HP. I still think it's core. If you don't know what else to build, it's going to be serviceable. But if you're snowballing hard, I would not rush this anymore. Just because it's kind of a stat sink. You would rather get other things that help you do more rather than just have more HP.
Alright.
Where did that health come from? What the hell? What does this champion do?
I actually don't know. I know she has heals, so that may be part of it, but
okay.
I don't know.
She has an execute, essentially, like her that stacks. Missiles do damage. Cool. That thing. She can jump to people. Where is the heal coming from? Oh, it's a shield. Okay. It's Triumph in her heal that makes her so stacked with the heal. That makes sense. It's her shield that keeps her alive there.
Alright.
And that's a fat shield, actually. If you look at that, that's like over 200 at level 6. That's pretty huge.
Yeah, that's pretty strong.
Yeah, that's a fat shield. We're gonna watch this one more time. Your exhaust here immediately is actually incredibly good. You shouldn't wait to use exhaust in situations like this. Had you waited any longer, it's possible that she dies, right?
Yeah.
So you immediately start peeling for her exhaust into silence. Huh. It's good stuff.
Oh yeah, the game started looking really good, and then, like I said, you'll see. you're in for a nice low elo surprise.
One thing I will say here, I think opting to go down and push this is incorrect. I think you guys just got so much money with Dragon and all this that you don't necessarily need to go bot lane after this.
Yeah.
Any additional time you spend down here, I think you are wasting the gold in your pocket.
Yeah. I agree. I just tend to follow my AD if they want to go do stuff like this to try to keep them alive.
Because right now she's the one with 2,300 gold, right? And now she just died with 2,300 gold in her pocket.
Yeah.
I think you kind of stay with her and you kind of enable her to stay, right? Like she's like, oh, Blitzcrank's with me. Neat. We're just going to go back bot lane like we've been doing all game. So I think there definitely needs to be a point where you make the decision upon yourself to just back. And I think if you back...
Spam ping.
yeah, she might just back with you because you're like, hey, we just got a triple kill, you big dummy. You know, go spend your money. Don't die with the same items in your inventory.
Yeah.
That's a really bad thing that I see happen a lot. People choose to continue fighting or not base when they have a perfect opportunity to base and they have money in their pocket. Like, it's just a double whammy. Yeah. She hurts really bad.
Yeah.
It's funny because, like, when these champions come out, they already had to, like, hotfix buff her and give her damage. But, like, honestly, I don't see why that's necessary. If I'm just being honest. It looks like she does plenty of damage. For having a defensive ultimate, at least. But that's just me ranting. You end up... Why do you have so much gold? We need to look at what you buy. I kind of got ahead of myself here, ranting about Callista, or Kaisa. They're all the same. So you finally base. Or are forced to by death. This is definitely where I think you should be getting Mobies. Mobies are incredibly good on Blitzcrank because of how they enable you to land more pulls, right? Sometimes the movement speed lets you get the angle, or sometimes you just run somebody down and punch them first, right? Like, you don't even land hook first. You just use your W movement speed and your Moby movement speed, you just run down the lane and you just uppercut a guy. That is an actual pretty reliable way to engage a fight. Okay. I think you only don't get Mobies here because you just barely don't have enough gold, right? You're like, if it were still, you know, 50 gold cheaper with the magical boots, then you would have had enough. But when you have to make close calls like this, especially because they nerfed this item and it doesn't give 500 health anymore, you definitely make the call to finish the Mobies, not finish this item.
Oh, okay.
If this item was not nerfed, I would say this is still good, but it was a pretty big nerf. You don't get as much money for finishing it. Or not as much stats turn for finishing it. So you're already dead at that point. So we get this kill. And this is where it's kind of already too late. Do you get the turret though?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so you get the turret. You're kind of already dead just because it's Hecarim. I see how this is avoidable. You know, I like that you got that kill there, but I actually think going for that kill got you killed. Because if you don't go for that hook, you just kill the tower, right? And then you get out for free. That kill kind of causes you guys to overstay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Does Hecarim just sneak through here? What the hell happens? Oh, you don't have vision. I'm looking at the wrong side, I think. Oh no, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, where does this Hecarim come from? This is why you don't put this ward so close to the wall, right?
Yeah.
Because this can happen. The first one was too low in the river. Like, this is just not far enough up. This one is too close to the wall. Okay. So this needs to be, like, over here.
Alright.
If it was right here, you would have seen this guy before he even walked around this corner, because it would have spotted him right there. So that's just another ward mistake. It's kind of unlucky, right? I mean, it's kind of funny in hindsight, though, that he just slips around the wall like this.
See, he has a tendency to do that ever since the start, if you remember.
Yeah. In general, though, I think that kill is kind of what gets you killed here. At the same time, though, if you don't go for that Leona kill, I think you guys stay for the tower, get flanked, and die anyway, right? So in general, I think this tri-bush needs to be warded before you decide to go for this play, because I'm pretty sure you have the wards in your inventory, right? Yeah, you have a sweeper. Okay.
Yeah. Because, well, I have one ward on my
on this
eye thing. Yeah.
So you could have put one on here. It's important to note that you need to secure vision before you go for things, and this is actually a problem I've been seeing in a lot of games lately. Hecarim is getting more and more popular. I've probably seen him as the enemy jungler in like a quarter of some of the games I've been replaying, which is a lot. Um, in terms of warding against Hecarim, you need more advanced warning, right? Because he's so fast that sometimes you see him, but it's too late. Having a better ward here is good. Sometimes you just have to give more respect to the Hecarim. When you know that he can be somewhere running at like 700 or however fast he goes, you have to know that this is overextending. This might be overextending. How much or where the fine line is between not overextended and overextended changes depending on like what the enemy team is capable of, right? In this case, it's Hecarim who can, you know, jump across an entire screen at you. So the fine line between what's overextended and what isn't gets smaller. So more and more advanced warning becomes even more and more important in that regard. In general, you should try to secure vision before you secure objectives. The same way you ward up before a dragon, you should probably try to ward up before you go for this tower. Because they know that you guys want to go for this, right? They have all the time in the world to come down here. Because they know that you want this tower. They see this low health bar, and they see that you guys see this low health bar. So you end up sticking around here long enough that you can eventually get the attention you're looking for.
Yeah, this play. This is a play where...
Come on, man, let's go in. Come on, come on.
Nah, my duo... Like, watch, like, rewind it.
I'm going to. I like to watch it all the way through once so I can see what actually happens.
Because if you look, Vane's almost at him like, get Vane, and he goes in on Karthus. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
I love the Amumu walk at high speed. It's just like this awkward, like, penguin shuffle. Alright, let's see here.
Yeah, right here, I'm like, okay, go on Vane. And then what does he do? Watch.
He's not even...
Like, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, oh, my bad, I didn't see Vane. I'm like, what?
Were you looking at your screen? Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna look at this setup-wise. Xerath, unfortunately... Actually, no, we need to go further back. Because this is actually super important. Once you get your Mobies as support, unless it's like before 10 minutes still, you probably shouldn't be auto-pathing back to bot lane. And I think you kind of do that here, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, hey, gotta go back to bottom, but this guy needs your help, right? He even throws up a ping asking for assistance, right?
Yeah.
If that was his.
What's funny is, look at the jungle, what he's doing while he's asking for help.
Yeah, doing the scuttle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're on the way, but dodge before you get there.
Okay.
That's not your fault, right? But I think you could have already pathed mid and maybe like acted as like a bouncer or something, you know, like you show up and they're like, oh crap, we shouldn't go in, Blitz is here. So because you auto path bot, I think he kind of gets hung out to dry here, and he just gets 3v1'd, which doesn't feel good. So once you finish your Mobies, I would definitely get out of the habit of just auto-pathing to bot lane, because you're now so fast that you could get somewhere else much more quickly. You may have even been able to go top lane here and save this Teemo, right? Oh, well, he's really hurt. Oh, probably wouldn't go up there. Well... Okay. This is what I see, though. We're gonna look at the moment you are low, and the moment you actually, like, come alive. I think the moment you're dead, one, you're already looking at the map to see and gather intel of where you think you should go next. And if you're dead and you see this up here, you see that Tryndamere has no ult, and he probably also uses flash. We're gonna see if Emo pinged it. It's been down for like a little longer than that. Okay, I don't see a ping on Tryndamere flash, so you may not have known that. But when you look up here and you see that Tryndamere just ulted and he has no HP, I think you could potentially give this Teemo 2 pings to say, I'm on the way, right?
Yeah.
This is very abstract here, right? I'm just trying to give you examples of what you could do.
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying.
Maybe not this particular Teemo, right? Because he kind of just gets himself killed.
Anything but pathing bot.
Yes, exactly. That's the kind of the point I'm trying to make here. When you see that this Tryndamere had to run away and he does not have his ultimate, you can see, hey, that Tryndamere is now somebody I can grab and kill. Teemo kind of just stays and gets himself killed in a really funny way, like we were just saying. But fucking chat window. I think if you look at the map right now, you could have actually almost already been here, right? If you look at where you are now, you could have potentially been here to see this happen, and then you say, ha, I'm going to chase you down and kill you because you don't have your ultimate and I have enough burst to kill you. And I have Ignite in Universe B, right?
Yeah.
So if you're looking at the map, I think,
shot.
yeah, etc. Ad endum. If you're just more aware of what's going on in the map, I think you would see a few more advantages. And finishing movies is like the perfect time to go somewhere else, right? Because you just run super fast.
Yeah.
This Amumu is just kind of sad. We're gonna pretend this didn't happen.
Yeah.
This is why it gets hard to play around people, though, in support, right? I generally don't like recommending people to play support unless they play a support character that literally hard carries and can just carry the lane and then go carry the rest of the map from there. Like, I don't tell people to play Janna in Silver because, you know, you're not peeling for double lift, all right?
Yeah.
Chill out. You need to be playing champions that are kind of selfish so that you can just go do things all on your own. Like, you don't need this Amumu's help for something, right? Or, like, you land a hook.
Like,
or you could just go, you know, obliterate this Tryndamere or something if you were looking at it. Because he actually stays alive throughout all this, right? This whole time that you decided to go bot and then go mid, this Tryndamere killed Teemo, sustained back up to full, and is now pushing down your top tower.
Yeah.
You could have been here to kind of stop his push, and maybe you come up here, force him back, and you freeze the lane for your Teemo, so that he comes back to a frozen lane. He loses less farm, Trin doesn't get to crush this tower, and Trin doesn't get an extra, you know, 200 golden farm because you forced him to go back.
Yeah.
There's always all sorts of ripple effects where you could have done something different here and there. This is just where I try to give you one example. Rather than opting to fight with the Amumu that, from this point on, you have no trust in. His build is good, at least. He's building the right stuff, which is nice. And he has 3, 1, and 5. So while he's not complete ass, that play mid was pretty bad. Needless to say. If he finishes this Abyssal Mask, this is when, if you were basing right now, how often would you say you look at the scoreboard?
Usually, at least when I base, probably, you know, every now and then in lane.
I think you should at least be looking at the scoreboard probably, as a minimum, probably 3 times a minute. Just tap tab and take a peek. Like, who has potions, who doesn't, that kind of thing.
Alright.
Who's in the middle of build paths, like, even if it's only 9 minutes in and you're just checking once in a while, maybe you see something in the top laner's build or the jungle's build or the mid laner's build that you can use as intel, right? Like, you see that this Tryndamere built Zeal into Hexdrinker. So you know he's probably going to finish a static shiv before he gets anything else. That way you know he only has magic resistance and offensive items. If you pull this guy and Kaisa and you lane some auto attacks, he's going to be forced to instantly ult, right?
Yeah.
So that's something you can take advantage of. Or before early game, you see that Karthus is building Roa and Sork Shoes. You know he's trying to scale. Maybe you know that he's still weak early while his Roa's still in pieces. That's when you decide that a roam mid right now to possibly kill him and disrupt his slow build path would be crucial because you get to disrupt his scaling. These are things that you have to keep in mind. Like, where do I fit into this game and how can I disrupt the enemy's win condition? Because as support, someone who can roam around the map and is not tied down to a lane for farm, like your laners or your jungler who has to farm, you can kind of be anywhere you want to be. But you have to make the right decisions about where you go.
Alright.
In general, though, Blitz, you want to be in places that the enemy would not like you to be. Because, like, this is that pick-oriented style, right?
Yeah.
This is also the part in the VOD where we look at your experience again, and this is where you're ahead of experience, but this Leona's pulling ahead of you in gold, right?
Yeah.
This is that moment that we were looking at. You were getting more experience because you were running lane to lane with Mobies, which was allowing you to soak XP, right? You got to the lane quicker, less minions died to tower, you soaked more XP, etc., etc. Whereas Leona was making a few more positive plays and actually killing people. The end result of both of those is that you actually end up coming out with somewhat of a decent gold generation still, less than hers because she's getting golden kills and assists, but you are still fatter on XP, right?
Yeah.
I think this shows the value of just being in the right place at the right time rather than just always getting kills and gold. Because if you ask me, I would rather be up half a level than be up 300 gold any day of the week. Because I can hit that level spike and then probably still kill that guy who has an extra cloth armor on me.
Yeah.
That's more valuable. So that's why I say this XP that you have is actually more valuable than this gold that Leona has. Another thing to note is that you left base as level 9. Level 9 on support is when you can upgrade your trinket. But you forgot to do that when you left base.
I forget to do that all game almost, so yeah.
I would also say this is like that very obvious moment where the game becomes like laning phase is definitely over now, right?
Yeah.
Like 100% laning phase ended. This is where every time you leave base, you need to think about where am I going to go put my wards and then where am I going to spend my time to do my play. And in general, as Blitzcrank, it's like my play here is to either grab Vayne or Tryndamere. I would hesitate to grab Hecarim unless you have like a Mumu and Xerath to CC him and back you up. Because you wouldn't want to like pull Hecarim and then he just engages and Leona engages and then you guys are all dead. I would also hesitate to grab Karthus because Karthus is someone that you don't want in the middle of your team necessarily, right? It's good if you pull him and you can insta-kill him, but if you pull him and you can't insta-kill him, you probably just gave them the team fight they wanted. So this is where I say Blitzcrank is a very scary champion for lower skilled players. I don't mean that as a mean thing against you at all, but it is very easy to use your skills in a way that is actually detrimental because of how much disruption that your skills have. It's like a bad headbutt on Alistair or something, right? You can have a really good headbutt, or you can also have a really bad headbutt, or like a really bad Bard ultimate, or a really bad Callista ultimate, things like that. I tend to not recommend or Kindred ultimate, etc., etc. There are good and bad ways to use certain disruptive skills, and it kind of has scary consequences in lower elo, where maybe you don't even make the mistake, but your team doesn't make the right play in following up on it. It's better if you just play someone that can just, dumpster truck them. In general, as support, I still like Blitzcrank, and you can still hard carry with him, but he is still kind of dependent on his team in a lot of ways. Because if you're strong but the rest of your team isn't strong, you can hit hooks that end up being costly because your team doesn't have the damage to kill the guy. But right now, this is when you're warding. So I think you probably punch this. Yeah, you're kind of on your ward grind here. You've already dropped a couple. Wards and picks is basically the name of your game right now. Nice, nice. Got her heal and her flash.
She went in and tanked the turret shots and then Karthus ult killed her. I think Karthus ult kills her like 4 times this game. It's
the loop around.
Yeah.
Alright, I would definitely base here.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
In fact, I think like Xerath was pinging. Yeah, Xerath starts pinging the tower, and I literally type, I'm like, no.
So you're building a Knight's Vow here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I definitely think the Locket is the right call. Just because of how good it is against Karthus. Especially going forward, if you're not going to run conditioning, which it's worth noting. Conditioning kicks in at level 10, right?
Yeah.
You're level 9 at 19 minutes. If you're running conditioning, that's a rune that you still haven't even gotten any effect out of 19 minutes into the game.
Damn. Yeah, that's
so,
crazy.
Yeah, don't use that. That rune is toilet paper on a support.
Noted.
A lot of your instincts to group are good. You're just in the right place, you're with your team. You're trying to land hooks, but whether or not you're landing them kind of doesn't matter because you're actually here to support your team regardless. I find a
here
lot of
comes-
people will just make the wrong plays, but you're with your
It's
team
another
very
cringy
often.
move moment. I tell him to keep running, then he turns. I'm like, no, don't turn. I can die. You're worth gold. So here he goes. Here he goes. I'm still just, and there he goes again. And now he dies too.
Yeah. It sucks. We're gonna see how this. I think this is just an overstay.
It all starts with me getting my arm ripped off.
Yeah.
Like if you go back a little further, you'll see me like grab Hecarim as he like ults.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he rips my arm off. Like, it couldn't have been any worse of a time for him to ult. It's like probably 30-ish seconds behind.
Oh, really? Okay. I do want to see it.
Yeah, like this fight started a while ago.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah, like my team just starts at way ass down there, and I'm like, okay. So,
Aw. That would have been a sick hook, though. Still ends up working out. Okay, at this moment, once you guys get this triple kill, and you see these two losers top lane,
yeah.
this is a hard call. There's actually not much to get here. As good as that triple kill was, when you consider what time in the game it is, there's just literally nothing on the map, right?
Yeah.
Dragon's up in 9 seconds. I think this is your objective, not the tower. You guys ping the tower, but these death timers are really not long enough for you guys to actually do it, right? By the time you actually push this up here, one, your 80 carry died. So you guys can't take a tower without your 80 carry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Your objective here is Dragon, not this tower. Alright. Wait a minute, Dragon's not there. Okay. Wait a minute. I'm so confused. Is this Dragon here or not? Okay.
It's spawning in.
Okay. This is a replay bug. That Dragon that I said should have been up when you guys got this clearly was not up yet. So when you guys get plays like this, when your 80 carry's dead, instead of trying to push for this tower anyway, when you know that they're still up in 20 seconds and you're not going to have time, especially with the dead 80 carry, you just push the wave and back. You treat that triple kill as just a nice kill. Some nice gold that you weren't expecting to get, and then you push the wave and you base.
Alright.
It sucks that you feel like you can't get more, but when you get kills on the bottom side of the map like this at 20 minutes, like right before 20 minutes, there's literally nothing else on the map to do. There just isn't. So you just take it as free gold and you base, rather than stay for a tower and overstay. Overstays after 20 minutes are like the bane of ending out games. Because like even if you have a lead, it's like, oh, we threw. That's going to make this game go on for another 5 minutes at least. So learning how to back reset and then just start over somewhere else is pretty crucial as a support. I tell a lot of support mains that your 3 favorite words are back, reset, and buy. After your team does something really good and you don't have enough time to do anything else, you tell them all to back, reset, and buy. That way they don't overstay, they spend their gold, and then you're all out on the map again.
Here it is. Here's the Baron call. I said no. But
I love how
like,
Kaisa just tanks it like a real champ.
I was like, no, we can't do it. And they're like, I
Come
think
on.
Xerath is the one who said it, and his words were, "They're all on bottom. We can definitely get it." And so, pretty much, I'm just standing there trying to like zone them out when they inevitably come up here to kill us.
Okay. Overall, I actually agree with your Xerath that this is a good call. The problem is, this is why Baron is bad in low elo. People don't execute properly. The reason why this is so bad is that even though starting it is actually correct, and I agree with him here, you guys don't do it in the right way, right? He starts it, and Kaisa tanks it. Look at her health bar.
Yeah.
And she's already getting like fucked up by the Baron passive that reduces armor and magic resistance. So she already has no health, and by the time the enemy team gets here, she's not going to have any resistances either. She's going to die to the very first thing that hits her. So when you see that your team wants to make a Baron call like this, and you are playing on a tank support, you may not like this call, but you are in the position where you have a chain vest here, and when you see some shit hitting the fan like this, you need to just run up there and tank this thing. It doesn't sound like a good idea, and you might hate it, but letting Kai'Sa get this low is even worse.
Okay.
I still think overall the play ends up being shitty, but look, this is why, right? Because she has no HP, and she can't even fight these guys yet. I still think most of the play is bad, but this is where people committing to it in a very half-assed way, and not in the correct way of the tank actually tanking the Baron first, is bad. Xerath hits it first because he knows you guys need to start it quickly, but this is just how Baron plays go sour. This play literally basically starts and ends with Xerath getting too excited and thinking he can just start Baron. It is the tank's job to start Baron. Because he didn't tank it, right?
No.
He hits it and he makes Kai'Sa tank it, right? He's a fucking dickhead. He basically threw this whole thing by not having 5 seconds or 2 seconds more patience and making someone who's not a tank Baron. And then when the enemy team does show up here, one at a time, Kai'Sa can't even help because she's dead. Your Xerath definitely fucked this play up. If you guys are going to do this Baron, which I think is still very doable because you guys have a Mountain Drake, a Fed 80 carry, and Hecarim's bot side. That's why I still think this play's good. Specifically, Hecarim bot side, Fed 80 carry, Mountain Dragon. Teemo's not quite here yet, but Teemo's good at doing damage to Baron, right? There's just lots of small reasons why this goes bad. But when I point them out to you, this is going to show you how to be more comfortable making Baron calls of your own. If you were the first one in the pit, or Amumu was the first one in the pit, and Kai'Sa doesn't get shit on by Baron, I think this actually becomes a game-winning Baron play. Because Kai'Sa's not dead, and she can DPS these targets as they come in one at a time. Because this would basically be like a 4v3 or a 5v3, right? Depending on how you look at it. It's just that Kai'Sa's not here, because she's dead, unfortunately. Because Xerath's a big fucking dumbass. But I think in Universe B, you know, one of the tanks starts the Baron, and this just goes better, because your 80 carry's not dead. So this is overall, I think, a decent Baron call. It's just very sloppy, and Xerath pulled the trigger too quickly. Teemo wasn't there, and your tanks weren't there.
Wait a minute, can you go back just for a second?
Yeah.
What was Amumu's pathing here? Hold on. I didn't notice this one in game.
Heal.
But like right here, he seems to have a little trouble running away.
And then he flashes, just making it even worse.
Yeah, I told him to Q Krugs over wall.
Yeah.
Because if he would have queued them and then flashed, he might have got away, but I don't know.
We're gonna go back to before the Baron starts. Because I still really like this play overall. It's just bad execution. Xerath kind of blows it. You guys all rotate as a team. And they don't have vision. Like, they actually have none, right? Like, look, this is the thing about calling Baron in low elo when you have a Fed 80 carry and a Mountain Drake. People are not aware of how quickly you can actually do it. When you have all 5 people, Mountain Drake and, you know, DPS carries. This thing melts with a Mountain Drake. But because it's 22 minutes, this guy's just like, oh, I'm farming bot. You know, they're going to do Baron at 22 minutes. And they don't even have wards because it's silver. So that's why I think this Baron's actually okay. It's just the poor execution that makes it really shitty. Teemo needed to be here 5 seconds sooner, and the tank needed to be tanking it. Overall, actually, it's okay. You end up winning this game, right?
No, we lose.
Okay. We're gonna... Overall, I'm actually gonna pause it right here. I would actually end the video review right here, because I think we already went over a lot of the important stuff. And and in kind of a game where I think you had wrong runes, you know, etc.
Yeah.
This is the point where the game's kind of just going off the rails, right? This is like Fiesta mode.
Yeah.
So in terms of that Baron throw, it going like late game like this into a 40-minute Fiesta, I think my ability to actually give you context on some of these plays is going to be very low percentage, right? Like it's going to be, oh, well, if this guy doesn't miss this and all this stuff, then this fight goes differently. Yeah. But because we've already spent so much time on like the early game stuff, and I feel like the stuff that's actually more constructive for you to be a better player, I think this is actually a good place to stop, because this is a Fiesta for sure.
All right, well, just switch over to a Mumu real quick and fast forward and see him go full tilt mode.
Does he walk it down mid?
No, but there's a play here, like, it's kind of towards the end if you want to find it, where Mumu and Teemo both die. And it was just the worst. Like, they die in mid, and it's the stupidest death I think I've ever seen.
Okay, it is fair to look at builds here. Because it's still a Fiesta, I don't want to keep going into the rest of the video. Yeah. But when you see builds like this, this is where you have to know who to hook, right? Hooking the right person is basically your late game win condition. That's Blitzcrank. You know, it's like with Taric, layer up your ultimate with your shield so you can ult everybody, chain your heals, chain your ults, have good team fights. With Blitzcrank, it's literally, you know, if you pull the right guy, you can win. Or if you peel with the perfect pool, you can win. So looking at the builds late game, your priority pools are definitely stand on a shroom or try to pull people through shrooms because you have a Teemo. And I would say grab anybody that's not named Hecarim, Karthus, or Leona, because they are all scary. I would be grabbing only Blitz, or not Blitz, but Vayne and Tryndamere at this point. If you grab Tryndamere, he's going to be forced to ultimate because he's glass. I would not grab anybody else. I think maybe you can grab Hecarim, but only if there's going to be follow-up CC, like a silence into a knock-up. Because if you see his build, it's all health and armor, right? He actually doesn't have magic resistance. And this Teemo, this Amumu, and this Zereth, and even Kai'Sa, who does some magic damage, and you guys can pop the Hecarim. So I think you can actually pull the Hecarim too. But the point here is that you would have to pull him within range of everybody to follow up and kill him immediately. Because if he isn't killed immediately, you're probably going to get engaged on, and it's going to be a sloppy mess of a fight. So you're mainly looking for who can I pull, and who can die within my CC duration. If I silence them and knock them up, can they be killed in that amount of time? And if the answer is yes, they become a hook target. In this case, even though Hecarim is a tank, he's light on magic resistance, and your team is heavy on magic damage. So he's actually still a decent hook target in this case.
Alright.
Oh, so Mumu's died twice in about 70 seconds.
Yeah, like I said, he goes full tilt, but it doesn't really show until the play that I'm referring to, where Teemo gets called out. It's just...
Well, you guys do win a team fight, so that's nice.
Yeah, we actually win a few team fights. It's really odd.
Really back and forth.
Yeah.
I think the reason for that is because there's a lot of damage threats in this game, right? If we were to not fast forward, but rewind a couple of patches, I think you don't see Tryndamere and you don't see Karthus. I think what you see is Galio mid and a fucking Ornn in the top lane. So there's a lot more volatile team fights a couple patches ago. Damage threats are starting to come back a little bit. So there's going to be more back and forth in team fights. And there's also probably going to be quicker team fights because it's more just two people running into each other and exploding rather than a bunch of tanks beating each other with wet noodles. Wow. Tryndamere's full murder mode.
Yeah.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
Mumu dead again. Remember when he was 3-1-5? Good times.
Yeah, we actually win this fight here at Baron, which... Like, I think only one of them actually gets out with Baron buff.
That Kai'Sa chase is actually kind of awesome. I want to see that again. This is where I see what this champion can do. So that I'm ready for it when I play against it. Mumu goes in, holds him up, does a decent job of it. Oh, that hook did not hit her. Good hit. Okay, slow-mo. Mumu goes in. Mumu doesn't have his ultimate. Mumu tries anyway. Okay, no, you hit her.
Yeah, I walk up and try to steal it with my ult, but I'm like a second too late.
Teemo Shroom's doing work. I think the Teemo Shroom is what won you that fight, really. The fact that they all got fucked up by Baron.
Yeah.
As well. But when both of them hit this Shroom here, like, they get completely stalled out and slowed, and they can't follow up the rest of the fight. You guys already won it by that point.
Yeah, there's Hecarim again, like, juking the shit out of us. Like, if you look, I'm going to path around to try to find him.
And
then,
he's
like,
just being a ninja pony.
Yeah.
Dead.
Yeah, he goes in and dies for whatever reason, leaving only Karthus with Baron, and Karthus just barely holds on.
Rip. Yep. This is definitely where I think your build, if you had, like, Redemption and Locket, right? I don't know.
Oh yeah, like I said, I could have saved her so many times after you said that. I started thinking, I was like, oh my god.
I think whatever you're building here, Abyssal Mask, it's not good. You already have an Abyssal Mask on your team. And Amumu's passive, Amumu's passive is actually kind of like an Abyssal Mask of its own. If there's anything Amumu's good at right now, it would be amplifying AP threats on his own team. So if you buy like Adaptive Helm, not Adaptive Helm, but if you buy Mask combined with Amumu's passive, he tends to increase the damage of like APs on his team by like a rather solid 25%, either through true damage or Abyssal Mask amplification. So that's kind of Amumu's best niche as a champion, really. So in that regard, when you already have someone like Amumu that does that, that makes the fact that you buy an Abyssal Mask like kind of dumb, honestly. You have to get Locket and Redemption and protect your team from the Karthus and the Hecarim and the Death Pony.
Alright. Oh, here it is. Look, there it was.
I missed it. Okay, I want to see it.
You're gonna want to see this. This is pure tilt.
So he flashed out from whatever he was doing. Okay,
And
looks like I
notice Teemo. Teemo's dying. So what does he do? He goes right back into him.
Right after he ran for his life and flashed away, he goes back in and just chops his own head off. Like, he basically just puts his head under Trindamir's sword and says, "Please do it," you know.
Yeah.
All right. For the most part, I think you would agree this is over.
Oh, yes, very much
with
so.
the double inhib. Yeah, this is over. Did you have another question about that game, though? I think we covered a lot. I was probably throwing a lot of words at you, but if you were writing down some of it, I'm sure some of it's probably sticking. I just know sometimes I feel like I talk a lot, and I'm not even like listening to the other guy because I'm just trying to give you information. But do you feel like you got most of it?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Any other questions though?
Not really.
All right. Going forward from here, I think if you just kind of review those notes, apply it to your next 3 or 4 games, you'll see some results, and like you'll probably make some decisions that you wouldn't have made without my input. But going forward, I think my personal recommendations for you would be try a couple new champions. The champions that I think would be more aggressive for you as ways to like actually carry lane more aggressively and not just land hook, feast or famine. Karma, I think, is the best all situations, can kind of do everything support that there is right now. There's probably lots of secret builds on YouTube, whether or not they have thousands or tens of thousands of builds that show you how to appropriately play Karma. I could even do it myself, but as of like right now in a 1v1 practice session, I'm ashamed to admit that my main account is still banned for another 4 days. So until I get my main account unbanned, I can't do any 1v1 practices with you. But I'll stay in touch in that regard, and I'll help you pick up a new champion in like a week or so or something if you feel like it.
Alright, yeah, that sounds fine.
Alright, good luck in your next few games, and I'll be around. Don't be afraid to hit me up with a message.
Alright.
Take care, man.
Alright, you too.